There was a matte painting of the Death Star, and they could kind of move in and move out, but you can't really move much on a matte painting because it's flat artwork. And George Lucas asks, he says, hey, what do you think we build the incomplete Death Star as a model? We can really move on it that way. Production would talk to me and go like, well, we could do it. Don't emphasize the model. We could do it with a painting because we don't want another big budget, model made. So George says to me specifically, says, Loren, what do you think it's going to cost for that if we did it as a full-size model? And I had known that he had bought a Dino Ferrari, a used one. I knew exactly how much he had paid for it. And I said, it'll cost about as much, a little bit more than the Dino Ferrari that you bought. And he said, is that all? Let's do it. I knew that George had already made the decision. They weren't going to be able to change his mind now. And we went ahead and built it. Some people kind of burned out on it. Bill George at the time was a new employee, and he was so enthusiastic.
For a while there, it was kind of the catch-all. If you were on another project and maybe your next one wasn't going to start for a few days or a week, Loren would put you, go work on the Death Star. It was this just big behemoth of a project, so people would work on it a little bit and then they'd just want to get away from it because it was so overwhelming. By the time I was assigned to it, the form was already there. It's pretty big. It's about 5.5 feet in diameter. The form was there. The pieces that were under construction had been cut out. And what was next was all the little teeny filigree detail that represented the girders and the under construction area. And so that's the part that I kind of grabbed onto and took the lead on.
We knew from the drawings that it had to look like miniature iron girders and all kinds of wire structure and everything was used to put it together so that the inside had a structure. You couldn't just cut it away and say it was just a shell. That wouldn't be a good payoff.
One of the ideas that Loren had, which we ended up using, was to use acid-etched brass for a lot of that fine filigree detail. And the way that worked is you would do artwork that was sent out to a company that would, using a photographic process, put a release onto a thin piece of brass and then spray it with acid. And so the areas where the release was, it wouldn't eat through. So you could get these very, very little teeny tiny details in the brass. And it was pretty easy to mass produce, so you just lay it over itself and get this really wonderful texture. And then one of the big surprises at the end was we had this piece of artwork that we were using to design it, and then we were told, actually, this is flopped, this is backwards, so we're going to have to flop the model. So if you ever see the model in person, it is exactly the opposite of the way it appeared in the film.